And that's why he writes that in Damascus, in Syria, when the animals were suffering from the pains inside the stomach, or they had some problems, they would take the animals to the graveyard of Damascus, place the animals there. And when they would hear the punch of the grave, they would have convulsions inside their stomach. The movement of the stomach and everything would drop, and animals would feel better. That they could hear the punishment that was going on inside the grave. It's something that Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah wrote in one of his works. And there are many proofs inside the Quran about the punishment of the grave. النَّارُ يُعْرَضُونَ عَلَيْهَا غُدُوًّا وَعَشِيًّا, that the fire is exposed to them day and night. وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةِ أَدْخِلُوا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ شَدَّ الْعَذَابِ, and when the punishment comes, enter Fir'aun, the people of Fir'aun, into a more severe punishment. Amongst the proofs of the punishment of the grave, that these people are being exposed to the hell and fire day in and day out. And when the day of judgment comes, they will be told to enter into the forever punishment, the fire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise we find that the na'im of the grave has been mentioned inside the Quran as well. قِيلَ دُخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِ يَعْلَمُونَ. If we say to an individual, enter into paradise, he's entering into paradise inside the grave. That he's having his na'im, the bliss has been given to this individual inside that location. And the only people who are saved from the punishment of the grave, those people who read Surah Al-Mulk every single night, the 67th chapter of the Quran. But the greatest form and the greatest contention at the moment on this dunya, if you want to save yourself from the punishment of the grave, sittatu khasal lish-shaheed. 6 benefits, 6 characteristics are given to the shaheed before even the blood touches the ground. And one of them is the saving from the punishment of the grave. If that is the way you want to be saved from the punishment of the grave, is to die as a shaheed. And that's how you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention this verse, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا. Don't consider those people who die in His path as dead. Don't call these people dead people. There's no such thing as calling them dead. These people, بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. They are alive with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being provided provision by Him. فَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Rejoicing with that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to them. Something we can't seem to comprehend. That what is pushing these people to do these actions. And if you read the tafsir of this verse, the souls of the mujahideen are placed inside green birds. And the birds walk around or fly around the whole of paradise. And then they return underneath the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enter into that cage. Only for the shuhada. This is given to these people. And then the Prophet Muhammad stated himself, there's only one thing I would like to return back to this dunya. Is that I'm killed, then I return again. Then I'm made shaheed again, then I return again. Made shaheed again, then return again. 3 times he mentioned this. That's the only reason why he wants to come back to this dunya. And the only reason why the shaheed will come back to this dunya is to face that great feeling of dying as a shaheed. Which most of us become cowardly. Cowardly to discuss this, cowardly to even engage in such matters. Because on top of that, the Muslim ummah is forever calling it irhab, calling it terrorism, calling it that this is futile warfare. You don't have the numbers, you don't have the weaponry, you don't have anything. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. At that day of Yawm al-Badr, who threw? You did not throw, but it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that threw that dust that went into their eyes. What was their number on that day? 313, facing a force. Today is the same thing, but we have become like the froth, the scum of the ocean. That there is only qaleel. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Only a few grateful servants who can stand up and defend the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the greatest way to protect yourself from the punishment of the grave. And finally we need to reflect upon الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He's one that created life and death to see which of you is best in action. Not أَكْثَرُ عَمَلًا, the most in action, but the best in action. The most precision in action. Ikhlas, and upon the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's how we find all of us should aspire to die upon good actions. All of us should aspire, standing in a salah, in qiyam, in ruku', in sujood, reading the Quran, performing tawaf, making hajj. That is the way a person should aspire, or even the greatest form as we mentioned previously. But if not that, at least aspire to die in a good manner. Because really the way that you die is the way that you'll be resurrected. People who die in an evil state, shurbul khamr, drinking alcohol, in a state of fornication, they'll be resurrected and exposed in front of the rest of humanity in the day of judgment. This is the way that they have died. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us to be exposed in the day of judgment in this evil manner. And likewise, if not in that manner, at least to die in a peaceful manner. At a state of sleep. If we don't have the courage to go out and die in that noble cause, then pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of our weakness, then take us in a state of sleep. That we don't taste the hardships of death. That we are lifted up by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how all of us want to fall into that verse. يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةِ ارْجِعِي إِلَى رَبِّكِ رَاضِيَةً مَرْضِيَّةً فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. O soul at rest, return back to the paradise. Return back amongst my servants. Enter into my paradise. The soul which is at rest. And that soul is at rest by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. Allah is the one that will give thabat in this dunya and the akhirah. That is by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the tawfiq and the ability to understand the truth about death and strive to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our challenge towards running towards Him, to get closer and closer to Him and protect us from the punishment of the grave and the rest of the calamities that we're facing at the moment. Wa jazakumullah khair. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. I mean, obviously you need to take your precautions and not be silly, that a person should take any akhdul asbab, take everything, facilities that have been given to him, and not be a foolish individual and make maybe a type of khuruj fi sabilillah, and you leave your family in a state of poverty, in a state of need, and just go out in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But rather, the person should provide provision even from the provision of Hajj as well, that you should be leaving sufficient wealth for your family before you travel, and it should be a state or a form of ease when they leave. So likewise the dunya, you should take whatever is sufficient for you, and all of us know what is excessive. Any forms of excessive seeking of the dunya, a person should stay away from that. If a person has 2 pairs, 3 pairs of shoes, that's sufficient. Some people have 10, maybe 15, all types of imported trainers, etc. that they have from all over the dunya. So that's obviously something excessive. A person should try to stick to the minimal amount, and that is zuhud, that is abstinence, and something which is closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some sunnah as well that we find, to wear tattered clothes is from iman. A sign of iman is to wear this type of clothing. That doesn't mean you intentionally. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the blessings of Allah upon you, you should enumerate those blessings and show them. That is not kibr, that is not being arrogant or being boastful. Al-kibr batalul haqq wa ghamtun nas. Pride is to reject the truth and to despise and look down upon people. So to wear good shoes and to wear good clothing is something acceptable. But to be excessive is where we have to draw the balance, where a person should not be excessive of this dunya and seek excessive nature of this dunya, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
You mentioned that the people of paradise will be raised to heaven upon death and be called by the best of names as he enters heaven. Can you please give examples?
Any good names of a person, mention you with some good names, that you had good character, good behavior, good individual. And many people are called by good names in this dunya, maybe in front of them or behind their backs. And those are examples of some good names which have been mentioned about that person. Maybe the person may have been imam or hafid, etc. of that nature, or the person had good character, good behavior, treating their parents well, etc. has been known as such names. So that person, wallahu a'lam, will be mentioned by such good names that were mentioned inside this dunya. And likewise those people have the evil names, meaning that behind their backs people call them wretched things. And those names will be enumerated upon them. They may think that they are a good person in society, but people see them as something wretched. And likewise the angel will be calling that individual a wretched soul. And this is just my understanding, wallahu alam, as for the correct names that will be mentioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
When will we know whether we are destined for paradise or hellfire? Is it at the point of death or on the day of judgment? If we are received with goodness in the grave, does this mean that we are destined for paradise?
Na'am, wallahu alam, the general statement is that your qiyamah, your day of judgment, begins when you enter into the grave, because you find that